of this effort, and I had been hit with the question, how are you going to tell your daughter?
We just wanted to,
we're used to that, though. We're used to that. You're new to it. We're used to it.
Yeah, we didn't have nothing to prove. We literally just wanted to be her like genuine friend, bring her closer to God, and just like be there for her because we.
Hey guys, Becca Scoops here. How are you guys doing today? You guys doing okay? I hope so. I've got a jam-packed video. I was going to say video for you. We're going to be going live on Monday night, but today, let's get into this stuff. All right. I got several things to go over here. First, a little update of just what's going on with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Is she seeking forgiveness? Is she looking for God? Well, apparently so. Apparently, these new people that have come into her life are bringing her to God. These are quotes, and bringing her to the Lord. That's why they're in her life. Okay. I'm just reporting on it. You guys go ahead and comment, and we'll get to that in a minute. But first, Gypsy wants Ken to put a ring on it. Yeah. Yeah, she does. And we're going to get to that. And then we're going to get into some heavy stuff. Remember the Australia 60-minute interview that I did a deep dive on a few videos back? Well, I found another part to it that most people haven't seen. And it's this interview with this woman named Beatrice Yorker. She is a professor or professor emeritus, meaning she's kind of a retired professor there at this point. She's got a degree. She's a Juris Doctor. She's a lawyer, and she's also a professor of nursing. And she also claims to be an expert in Munchausen. And I was watching her interview very close about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and a few parts, big red flags. And in all transparency, I reached out to Beatrice Yorker, nurse to nurse, just to give her a heads up that I was, going to use some of this footage in this video. And then I wanted to explain myself to her where, kind of the new evidence that has come to light. It's apparent Beatrice Yorker had no idea about a lot of things with Gypsy Rose. And so I just wanted to give her a chance. If she emails me back, I will let you guys know. Okay. But before we get to Beatrice Yorker, which it's really like shocking stuff. I mean, I spent all night last night on it, making the clips and just kind of just shaking my head. And we're going to get to that. But let's get to this kind of frivolous Gypsy gossip stuff first. Okay. So apparently Gypsy, they're moving, I guess, this weekend. And so she had her, phone camera on, showing them moving, packing stuff, riveting stuff. But here's something that happened. Here we go.
What?
No.
You should talk to Ken about that. You should talk to Ken about that.
Oh, wait.
What?
Nothing.
Okay, see right here? Little crease there? You can just...
No, I'm not wearing a ring.
You should talk to Ken about that.
All right, so that's it. No, I don't have a ring. No, go tell Ken about that. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, Ken has not put a ring on it. And she's the only thing I can think of is I would not do that. But I mean, we're all different people, but it's just like, is she like pushing him to do it by being very public. She's got 9 million followers on TikTok. I mean, I think the guy that I was with wouldn't appreciate that, but maybe Ken likes that. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. All right. So what else happened? So let's get to this Christian stuff. Let's get to this this guy named Gage. I guess these people, okay, let me step back a minute here. So a few days ago or a week ago, I can't remember exactly when, and this is very odd because Gypsy and her two new friends show up on this live stream with this TikToker named Quiche, right? You guys all kind of know about this. If not, it's back in a video. All you need to know is there was a live going on with this content creator named Quiche. And in the middle of it, and they weren't even talking about Gypsy Rose, is what I've been told from several people. We weren't talking about Gypsy Rose. And all of a sudden, this guy in a blonde wig comes up and starts causing trouble, and Gypsy's laughing. Now, let me put this out first before you listen to what he says about being Christian and bringing her to God and all that. How would these people know, this Gage and then his sister named Heather? These are Gypsy and Ken's new best friends. Okay. They're going to be neighbors to where they're moving, I guess. I think. I don't know, allegedly. And how would they know to go on to Quiche? Number one, how would they know Quiche is live? Right? I mean, the way they're acting and the way this guy describes it, it's like Quiche and her panel, invaded their live. No. Gypsy was the instigator of this. Okay. Do you understand this to these people? Do you understand this? Of course she wanted you to do this. She has like a weird obsession with certain content creators, and Keisha's one of them. All right. So hold on. Let me bring up this guy describing this and then his Christian thing, bringing her to the Lord, bringing her to God, yada, yada, yada. All right. Okay. So here is this guy, Gage, Gypsy's new best friend, Ken's new best friend. And they showed up on Gypsy's older BFF's live stream on TikTok. That would be Bree. Okay. So let's take a listen.
Nothing to prove. We literally just wanted to be her like genuine friend, bring her closer to God, and just like be there for her, because we know not many people are like, if anybody is like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you could probably count on your 10 fingers and toes.
Yeah, and
the
she
people that are
doesn't.
like that.
And she also has had so many people burn her in her life, like, and that's
Exactly.
why I know when I decided to be her, like when we became friends, I told myself that, I'm gonna, like, I need to make sure that, like I do with any of my friends, though,
This is the old BFF Bree talking to the new BFF Gage.
that I don't do the same thing to this girl as other people have done to her.
Most definitely. And the other
It's
day on
horrible.
live is like the first time that we've done anything or like even remotely talked about the situation. Like the rest of the times we've hung out, we've played board games. We've talked about her and Ken, and we've just, just had normal conversations.
Okay. So here he is describing their relationship, what they've done, and, that this is the first time that they've even done anything like this. Okay.
The first time that we've even remotely talked about the situation.
Yeah, well, I think that's important
because we don't care about that, because we know her now, and we know that, she's a person.
We don't care about that. What he's referring to is that she murdered her mother. We don't care about that. All right.
Everybody, you know what I mean? Conversations like the first time that we've even remotely talked about the situation.
Yeah, well, I think that's important
because we don't care about that, because we know her now, and we know that, she's a person. Everybody, you know what I mean? So there's no reason to sit there and condemn somebody for something that happened so long ago.
Yeah, you know what? When murders happen, and they happen, like, there's a thing, if a murder happens over 5 years ago, who cares? Who cares? It's in the past. We can't condemn anyone that did a murder over 5 years ago. I mean, this logic.
Because it's not our place to do it. Like we
Exactly, that
we
part.
need to treat everybody how we would want to be treated.
Exactly, and that's
Okay, that's interesting. And I'm going to say something. Let's keep going.
I tell people that all the time, like, because a lot of people think that when I was advocating for her and putting out facts about her, people would say, "Oh, you're just saying what Gypsy told you." No, me and Gypsy. Why would I re-traumatize this girl and talk only about this crime with her? Like, that's not what we talk about.
Like like whenever her and it was my sister, my brother-in-law, her kin, and the baby that went out for the first time. Whenever they first met, and it's just like I said, the first time that we've even remotely brung up the situation was the other day on live, and it was because we asked Gypsy.
The situation is the murder. Can you just say the murder? Can you just say she murdered her mother? It's not a situation. It's a murder.
If like, is it okay if we get on here?
And then he's saying, we asked her if it's okay if we get on here. Can I ask a question? How in the hell, Mr. Gage, would you know even who Keisha is? How would you even know that she was on live at that point? None of this makes sense to me. Okay, just stop. All right, just stop. There was another conversation before this. It probably went something like this. Gypsy complaining about Quiche. Gypsy complaining about Quiche and going, oh my God, there she's on live again and she's talking about me when they weren't talking about her, when they weren't. And then he offered to help because that's how Gypsy manipulates things. Okay, that's how she would do it.
And just make light of the situation and have a laugh. And that's exactly what we did. Baby that went out, her and it was my sister, my brother-in-law, her kin, and the baby that went out for the first time.
Now, I just backed it up a minute. Listen to how he says how he ended up on this Keisha's live. How it just doesn't make any sense. Obviously, he doesn't recognize he's being manipulated, that he was manipulated.
Whenever they first met. And it's just like I said, the first time that we've even remotely brung up the situation was the other day on live. And it was because we asked Gypsy if like, is it okay if we get on here and just make light of this.
He wouldn't know that unless there was a conversation before that. I have no idea. You know what I mean? If I just meet somebody and let's say it is Gypsy Rose, but I'm not really into the case or anything, I wouldn't know who's talking about her. I wouldn't know who's on TikTok talking about her. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. And then the other point of evidence here, circumstantial evidence, is how much Gypsy is obsessed with Quiche. Quiche is one of the content creators she made fun of. And it was the first one she made fun of in that string of videos, right? And she does not like her. She is somewhat obsessed with her. So here we go.
Situation and have a laugh. And that's exactly what we did.
Have a laugh. Have a laugh. They weren't even talking about Gypsy, you idiot.
We laughed our ass off at those people.
No, you didn't.
I love when you got on there. Man, I think you're the only one I got Keisha to shut up for a second. She didn't know what to say when you came on there. Oh my God, it was so funny. And then your sister gets on and she starts raging. Like she just went crazy. And I'm like,
oh, no, that wasn't like that was her like being civil. Like that was
not
her
your
just
sister.
stating
I'm
the
talking
facts.
about Quiche.
Oh, Quiche started.
Quiche,
okay,
like she was all quiet with you.
All right, this is just a bunch of crap. We don't need to listen to that. There's another point here where he again brings up bringing her to the Lord, bringing her to God. And let me pull that up for you guys. Okay, here's the other quote where Bree's talking. She says, I'm just glad there's other people in Gypsy's life that can humanize her. And then once again, this new BFF of Gypsy is going to talk about what he's doing in her life. What is his mission in her life?
Very rude and destructive.
Funny. Like I know what I said may have been.
And I told Keith's sister too. I'm just so appreciative that Gypsy has other people in her life that can humanize her.
I'm just glad Gypsy has people in her life that can humanize her.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like I said before, it's not our place to judge anything they do, anything she did in the past and anything she does right now. It's our job to be there for her and lead her closer to the Lord and lead her, try to build her relationship with God. That's what our job is. And to be there for her whenever she needs it.
So they have a job. They have a job. You just heard what he said. Let me back it up again.
Down and they have nothing to say to.
No, your sister did great. They lost their mind and they're like, we don't care, but then they talked about it all night long.
Oh, 100%. Like Heather did. 100%. Yeah. And like I was just being on there to be funny. Like I know what I said may have been a little rude and I wasn't talking like Heather was, but I was just on there to talk shit.
No, I think you did great. Hey,
so just so you know that this Heather, I guess it's his sister, came on and she was like, she was talking like you need to pray, you need to, I don't know, it was like a very godly message. It seems sarcastic, but yeah, that's kind of what she was saying.
Sometimes they need to be, they're freaking rude to people. Really rude and disgusting.
Funny, like I know what I said may have been. And
I talk to your sister too. I'm just so appreciative that Gypsy has other people in her life that can humanize her. And
yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Like I said before, it's not our place to judge anything they do, anything she did in the past and anything she does right now. It's our job to be there for her and lead her closer to the Lord and lead her, try to build her relationship with God. That's
all right. So what do you guys think about this? Is he right? I don't think so. I think when someone commits a murder, that you don't just forget about that. I'm sensing this is some brand of Christianity, and so I'm going to speak on that a little bit. If this is, and it is a brand of Christianity, so part of that is forgiveness, of course, but the other big part of it is accountability. You can't be forgiven until you take accountability, and you don't ignore. In Christian talk, this would be sins, right? In Catholic talk, this would be a mortal sin, murdering someone. This would be one of the worst sins you could do. And so I don't know what this guy's talking about. I'm very confused. I don't know everything about every Christian denomination, but I do know a little bit about Christianity, and I know that this part doesn't ring true to me. That you don't just, I know people say, oh, you're not supposed to judge. That's not true. That isn't true. Yeah, you're not supposed to be mean to people. You're not supposed to, I don't mean be mean. You're not supposed to, you are supposed to judge in a sense that if your brother is sinning and you see it as a Christian, you are supposed to call that out. You still love it's like that one saying, hate the sin, love the sinner kind of a thing, right? So you're not supposed to just turn a blind eye to someone's sins. But this is what this guy is trying to say. And I'm just a little baffled by that, especially when this isn't like, taking the Lord's name in vain or, stealing some candy down at the Dollar General. This is murdering your mother. And so I guess they're in Gypsy's life to bring her to the Lord, to bring her to God. And that's why I started out the video with Gypsy crying about Aurora. And I'm going to get to that in a minute because the way she was crying, it was all about her, right? She's like, I put so much effort into this. What's she talking about? That was filmed allegedly a couple of days after she had allegedly the baby. And so she's crying. And she's saying, I'm putting so much effort into it. Into what? Into taking care of the baby. And I want to get my just rewards, because then she goes on to say, when she finds out about this, about that she murdered her mother, then is she not going to love me? It's all the concern for herself. Do you see what I mean? Instead of the concern for, oh my God, what's my daughter's life going to be like in school when other kids find out about this? But no, Gypsy's worried about how if she's going to be loved. And that's not a motherly feeling. A motherly feeling is, I'm going to jump in front of that car to save you. I'm going to die so you can live if I have to. It's the total most selfless feeling when you become a mother. The most selfless feeling you've ever felt. It's like you will do anything for that child. You don't think, I wonder if that baby's going to love me. That's not your thought. It's just so bizarre with her. All right, let's get to the next part here that I want to show you guys. All right, here's this now. I'm going to go back to now this part where she has this breakdown and where she's talking about Aurora, okay? And I'm going to have to pause it a couple times because of copyright, so just bear with me, but you'll get the point here.
I'm putting all of this effort in.
So that's, I'm putting all of this effort in, okay?
And I had been hit with the question, how are you going to tell your daughter?
Now the music's coming, so I got to be careful. How are you going to tell your daughter, you know, what you did, right? What you did.
About what you did.
And here it comes. And all of you that are parents out there, just listen to this part.
I just want to know that she's going to love me.
She's going to love me. It's me, me, me. Me, me, me. Right? Me, me, me.
And forgive me for what I did in my past.
And she needs to forgive me. Me, 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 me. Okay? What more do you guys need to see? What, you know what I mean? Narcissist, malignant narcissist, right? It's not, that's all. There's my example right there. And now we've got the new BFFs in her life that are bringing her to the Lord, bringing her to God. And it doesn't matter what she did. They're not there to judge her, you know, and she's already manipulated them once to go to get on social media for her. I mean, it's, you can't make this stuff up, right? You can't make this stuff up. All right. One other thing, and then we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of this Beatrice Yorker and her take, which was astonishing to me. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to debunk her, but I'm going to do it. But before we get to Beatrice Yorker, the professor of nursing emeritus at Cal State LA, out here, you know, close to me, Gypsy also put up this little video today. They're so supposedly in the process of moving. I'm not going to show the video. I'm not trying to, you know, the stuff with the baby, just got to be careful. You know, we don't, just got to be careful. But it is part of the story. It is part of stuff that she herself posts on social media. I got this from the GRB Snark page. So shout out to them. You'll find the link in the description if you want to go watch the video if you haven't seen it. It's just the baby, which Gypsy says, army crawl to Miss Rachel. I don't know who the hell Miss Rachel was because my youngest son is like 33 years old. So I guess Miss Rachel is this, which was to me back in the early 90s was what remember the Barney doll? Well, my youngest son was addicted to Barney, and that Barney song haunts me to this day, But anyways, I guess Miss Rachel is the new Barney, which is kind of weird when you think about the Gypsy Rose story, right? Anyways, she's got like this this cell phone set up in this like massive playpen. I've never seen anything so big in my life. And they turn on the Miss Rachel on the cell phone, and then the little baby it's army crawling to the cell phone. It's so Gypsy Rose. That is so Gypsy Rose, right? I don't know. I'll leave it to you younger mothers. Is this something you guys would do? I don't know. It's weird. And here's one, Gypsy did respond to this. Someone wrote, I thought she was like 9 months old. Why does she look 4 months old? And then Gypsy replied, she is 9 months, weighing 20 pounds and 28 inches long. All right. So there's that. All right, guys, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video, right? Let's get to debunking and showing you how crazy a lot of these documentaries were based on Really bad information. All right, here we go. Let me get that clip for you. All right, this first clip here of the professor of nursing, Beatrice Yorker, with this Australia 60 Minutes is the one that just kind of blew my mind. The Amelia Adams is the anchor or the reporter here, and she's going to ask a very pertinent question to Nurse Yorker. And let me just play that for you.
What to you was the most shocking part of Dee Dee Blanchard's abuse?
What to you was the most shocking part of Dee Dee Blanchard's abuse? Now, remember, it's reported, it's in the ether, in the mainstream media, that Gypsy's case was one of the worst cases of Munchausen by proxy that these experts had ever seen. A lot of that was these experts parroting what another expert had said, in my humble opinion, because they could not have been going based on the actual medical records. Okay. So a lot of this is performative. They really have not done hours of research, but they've been asked to be on a 60 Minutes or a documentary, right? And so watch Beatrice Yorker stumble to find something. We're talking about one of the most horrendous abuse cases. So which was it? Was it the was it all the bruises she had over? Was it the time they brought Gypsy into the ER and she was almost on death's door? Which part of this abuse? What was the most horrendous part of this abuse? Let's hear it from Nurse Yorker.
The most horrific thing she did in order to create this fake reality.
Well, there were many things that were shocking, many things that were alarming, many things.
She's trying to think of something here. And this is sped up. So this reaction is sped up, just so you know. So she's thinking now, yeah, what was the worst thing? What was it? Was it the time Dee Dee was injecting her with bacteria and she almost died? Was she making her vomit? Was she? Let's see what she says.
That were just make you cringe as to what
Right.
Gypsy endured. I think the feeding tube is one of the things that gives me the most alarm because.
What? All right. And you guys are going to love what I have to show you.
Once a child has a tube.
Let's back it up again. Watch her reaction again when she's looking. I'd love to have a reputable body analysis person really, go over this woman's, and I'm not trying to dog this woman out. You know what I mean? I'm sure she is a great nurse. I'm sure she's a great professor. I mean, she's a lawyer and a nurse. I mean, she's obviously very intelligent, but I'm sorry. I don't know how much she knew about this case before she talked about it. And yeah, I have to do what I have to do. So let's watch her reaction again when the anchor asks her, what was the most, reporter wants the worst thing. What was it? Because this is supposed to be a horrific case of this, right? One of the most horrific cases that these people have ever seen. So let's see.
Dee Dee Blanchard's abuse. The most horrific thing she did in order to create this fake reality.
Well, there were many things that were shocking, many things that were alarming, many things that were just make you cringe as to what Gypsy endured. I think the feeding tube is one of the things that gives me the most alarm because once a child has a tube that either goes through their nose and into their stomach or directly surgically a tube that goes into their stomach, that parent can put in any kind of poisoning.
Now she shift gears. Now we're not even talking about Dee Dee now. Because what she's going to say here, this never happened in Gypsy's case. This is very smart on her part to shift gears here then, because I think she's been caught out here, that she didn't really know the correct answer because there wasn't a correct answer, right? So it would be hard to come up with the most horrific thing if there wasn't really a horrific thing, right? So now she's going to switch gears here. Here we go. Back it up a little bit.
Through their nose and into their stomach, or directly surgically a tube that goes into their stomach. That parent can put in any kind of poisoning or medicine or toxin, and they can also starve the child.
Total control.
They're not talking about Dee Dee now. She didn't say, and we found out, right? She didn't say, and in Gypsy's case, Here's what Dee Dee did with the G tube. We found her putting in poisons. She was brought into the ER overdosing on salt. Dee Dee had obviously put a whole bunch of potassium, sodium or potassium in. You know what I mean? No, because she can't find that, right? She can't find it. It's not there. It's not there. All right.
Total control.
Can you explain how, I think one of the most puzzling things for most people who don't understand the syndrome is how a parent can create the symptoms of these terrible illnesses in the child? How Gypsy could present drooling, vomiting, looking like she was having a seizure.
Gypsy was never found to be vomiting. Vomiting wasn't anything. She wasn't vomiting. Drooling, yeah. Now let's see what this nurse says.
Well, it's a combination of things. They can get the child to present symptoms by over-medicating them. So the child looks drowsy.
Now we already know, okay, she looks drowsy. What does it do with drooling? We know that there was some Xanax that they had that Dee Dee possibly could have gotten a hold of, that was one of the prescriptions. But as far as other medications, remember we went over the medications in a prior video, and it wasn't anything crazy, mostly over the counter.
Or you can induce seizures. You can induce vomiting by giving a child Ipecac.
That never happened.
Which is medicine made if a child accidentally discovers pills and ingests them, and it's like a poison control, get the kid to vomit.
And either she did not read the medical files, or she knows, and she's not sane. And we know this happened to Gypsy. We know she presented at the emergency room, vomiting horribly. No, she doesn't say that. Why? Because it's not there.
If they're giving the child Ipecac to make them vomit.
She didn't give her that. Why? I know she's now speaking broadly, but the reason she's speaking broadly, you guys, is because she can't bring up anything with Gypsy because there's nothing there. You see how this whole thing, this whole mainstream media thing just got out of control?
So that they look like they've...
You have a woman this smart that's a lawyer and a nurse professor, and you're going to believe it, right? You're going to believe it. If you know nothing about this case and she's talking like this, you're going to say, oh my God, well, that woman's credible. And I'm sure she is credible. I'm saying in this case, she got it wrong because she didn't do the research. She's not a villain. She's not a bad person, but she was asked to be on this show and she didn't do a lot of research because it wasn't available to her probably. And so she was just probably looked at what Dr. Mark Feldman said, and basically she's just parroting that. And that's why she talks broadly when she talks about the symptoms, because she didn't read anything about any of Gypsy's symptoms because they weren't there. It wasn't available to her. And even if she had gotten the medical records, it's not there again. So she was probably Googled and looked it up and saw what these other people said in the documentaries and then just parroted it. She just parroted it to be on this show. Because it's a big deal for a person to be on 60 Minutes, even if it's Australia's 60 Minutes. I get it. And again, I did email her and I look forward to her responding to me. And it wasn't a mean email. It was just, hey, I think you need to know this about this case. And I'm hoping one of these experts will take a look at this stuff and say, hey, thank you for letting me know I got it wrong. And maybe they felt manipulated, by the production crew, They just said, here, look at this documentary and look at that documentary. And then they just parroted it.
Got some terrible stomach condition, then you can do it that way. Roy Meadows' original article talked about a mother who had her 4-year-old daughter.
Now, again, we're talking about someone else. There's nothing specific about Gypsy Rose in this entire interview. All right, I'm going to get rid of that for a minute. And we're going to see more of her in a minute, but I want to talk about this feeding tube stuff, right? I found out some new information, a new study that came out about Gypsy's microdeletion and the feeding tube. All right, look, facts about the 1q21.1 microdeletion. That's what Gypsy has, right? Here are the things. Doesn't this sound like Gypsy? Poor growth. Research has documented that poor growth and short stature. We know that one. Here's the big one, the second one down, failure to thrive. I had not seen this yet. A recent study, 2021, involving, listen to this, you guys, a large cohort of individuals with the deletion, the one that Gypsy has, found that failure to thrive was present in 68% of the participants. You guys, almost 70% of those who have the same microdeletion as Gypsy were diagnosed with failure to thrive. Exactly why she got the feeding tube. Exactly why she got it. Exactly why she got it. Dysphagia. Gypsy had the swallow studies. This is the same thing that she had. She had dysphagia, which means difficulty swallowing. There was a test. She flunked the test. 19% of the individuals have this. Okay. Then she had the GI problems. Remember, you guys, I've gone over all the GI problems with the laparoscopic procedure she had, the Nissan fundoplication. This is another thing directly tied to the microdeletion. These are cold, hard facts that Beatrice Yorker, Dr. Mark Feldman, all of them had no idea about. And I hope someone sends this to them. Please, please set the record straight. You guys are reputable people. I know it's embarrassing, but please set the record straight on this stuff. All right. We're not done here. I got something else to show you. I'm telling you, this is jam-packed information on this video. Okay, one of the things that this Beatrice Yorker, the lawyer nurse, had to say was that when they get these G tubes, the people, the real people that have Munchausen, usually it's a caregiver. Obviously, a lot of times it's the mom. Okay, they use that. What was she saying? To put in poison. The kid becomes worse. Right now, after Gypsy got her G tube, did she become worse? Or did she get better? Let's take a look at that. Now, the first thing up here is a direct quote from her medical records. When Gypsy was 9 years old and only weighed 36 pounds when she got the G tube. She was having failure to thrive. She was having difficulty swallowing. They didn't know if it was physical or psychological or both. And it doesn't really matter. What mattered was she needed help with nutrition. And so after these studies, they put in the G tube. Okay. Now, Gypsy's weight, this is after she got it, has shown a steady increase from 36 pounds on July 21st, 2000 to present weight of 57. Wow. Now look at this letter on the right, you guys. This is from the medical records. This letter is in reply to your request for a summary statement on Gypsy Rose Blanchard regarding her application for disability benefits. At this point, she's trying to get disability. Dee Dee's trying to get her, she's a disabled child. She's trying to get her financial help, right? And insurance. Gypsy is a 9-year-old female who I've cared for since June 2000. Gypsy has a history of what does this sound like? This sounds like this sounds exactly like the microdeletion symptoms. Listen, developmental delay, impaired vision and hearing, microcephaly, gastroesophageal reflux disorder, the GI issues, and severe feeding aversion. Gypsy is so fearful of eating that we had to place a it's called a PEG tube, for nutritional purposes. Prior to the PEG placement, Gypsy had undergone an intensive evaluation and attempted treatment for her feeding aversions by the feeding hospital. She was not able to consume enough calories by mouth to ensure her survival. In addition to her other impairments, Gypsy is a very anxious child. Okay. Now, what does this all mean? Now, if Dee Dee really had Munchausen by proxy, let's read this other part to the left. Yes, it is typical for a Munchausen by proxy, now called fictitious disorder imposed on another, or FDIA, caregivers to escalate the abuse, even after a feeding tube is placed. The feeding tube itself provides a new avenue for manipulation and harm, allowing the caregiver to continue or worsen the fabrication of illness to gain attention and sympathy. But what happened after Gypsy got her PEG or her G tube placed? Her weight increased. She didn't show up in the ER poisoned by something Dee Dee used the G-tube to poison her with. She got better. She got better. Now, does that mean that she needed the G-tube all the way till she was 23 years old? No, of course not. No, of course not. I'm not saying that. But right here at 9 years old, they did their due diligence medically. The doctors. She had studies done. She had testing done. They had swallowing studies done. Okay. And the proof is in the pudding. Her weight went from 36 pounds to 57. If Dee Dee was trying to make her ill, she would have used that G-tube to make her ill. She wouldn't have started to gain weight. She wouldn't have started to get better. So that's just another thing that I just thought I needed to share. And hopefully some of these experts who weighed in on it before, like this Beatrice York, will start to set the record straight. All right, what else? What else with Beatrice? What else did she have to say? This was very, very interesting. Okay, let's.
Munchausen syndrome is a condition where somebody makes themselves ill for the purposes of getting medical attention. An example is a case I was involved in. A nurse passed out at work. She was rushed down to the emergency.
Wait, hold on.
Of a case like this.
Yes and no.
Okay, here's the part. Sorry, guys, I had gone too far. Here's the part that also doesn't make sense, that Gypsy doesn't fit the pattern. Here we go.
And Dee Dee Blanchard. Had you ever heard of a case like this?
Yes and no. The parts that I had heard of, I'd heard of so many cases where children had a feeding tube, where they had unnecessary surgeries, where they had been isolated, they'd been kept at home, they had been doctor shopping, they'd crossed state lines.
Dee Dee never doctor shop.
What I had never heard of was a victim killing their perpetrator.
There we go. There we go again. Never heard of this. This hasn't happened. Gypsy's the first again, right? Gypsy's the first. Remember, Dr. Mark Feldman said the same thing. It doesn't fit the pattern. I don't know what to say. This Gypsy's the first one to ever do this in the history of the world of people that have victims of Munchausen. She's the first one. Well, why do you... Again, here we go.
Doctor shopping, they'd crossed state lines. What I had never heard of was a victim killing their perpetrator.
What is Munchausen's?
Then she goes in to ask, and I just want to say, it doesn't fit the criminal pattern. So maybe this isn't a case of Munchausen. Maybe Gypsy's motive for doing what she did had nothing to do with the so-called alleged medical abuse. All right, let me get to the next thing, guys. All right, we're starting to run out of time, but I wanted to get really quick to something else about the insurance. Remember, Gypsy was never fit the pattern for this anyways. And part of the reason she never fit the pattern was she never was rushed to the ER like a lot of these other patients are, where the parents have injected them with fecal matter or, done something and made the child super ill that they're on death's door. That never happened with Gypsy. So anything that Gypsy had done to her, it had to be approved by insurance. And I wanted to find out what kind of insurance probably did Gypsy have. Okay. So this, you can pause to read this. I don't want to go into all of this. I'll do this in another video. Basically, Gypsy would have had what's called Medicaid. Okay. And it would have taken her 2 years to get Medicare. But during the time when a lot of this, the salivary glands and other stuff like that was done, it would have been Medicaid. And yeah, they would have had to have pre-authorization, meaning this would have had to been not only okayed by the doctors, but okayed by the insurance. So this is like, yes, Louisiana Medicaid, prior authorization for certain surgeries and other medical procedures in 1999. I just used the year 1999. It's kind of when all of her issues started. And so I wanted to see, did they still need prior authorization? And yes, they did. So there's that also. There's that also doesn't make sense. Because yes, when someone's rushed into the ER, let me just make this point, because this is something like this Beatrice said. She was like, well, the anchor asked Beatrice, well, why is it that, some of these procedures slip through the cracks? And then Beatrice was like talking about how, well, if they come into the ER and it's life threatening, then, we have to just act. And that's very true. You don't even see what insurance they have. Someone comes into the ER on death's door. It doesn't matter if they have insurance or not. We treat them. We have an obligation if somebody is dying to stop them from dying. It doesn't matter who they are or what their name is or what insurance they have or anything. And so if a child presents like that at the ER, then yeah, you're going to treat it. This is how it can slip through the cracks and not get followed up on. But Gypsy never presented at the ER like in some heightened emergency states. The only time she was at the ER was usually for, like, she had ear infections, very mild. These weren't crazy things. They weren't life-threatening. Ear infections, and then to get the G tube replaced. These were not life-threatening things. They were very mundane things. So I just wanted to add that too. Okay. Now, I want to get to some of your comments and emails. Yeah, I like doing this. I think it's interesting. And okay, let me get to the first set of comments here. Okay, one email. This was really interesting. So one of the subscribers, or I think she's a subscriber, I don't know, an email that I got said, a Page 6 article also came out before Gypsy was publicly known to be pregnant. This email is talking about my last video that had to do with the timeline of Gypsy's divorce, her romantic triangle with Ken and Ryan, and then her pregnancy. So this person writes, a Page 6 article also came out before Gypsy was publicly known to be pregnant, claiming Ken had moved to Louisiana to be closer to Gypsy. The article was published on May 2nd, 2024, 2 days before the alleged conception date. Remember, back on the timeline, Gypsy said that she conceived the baby on May 4th. That's what she claims, right? Ken's mom, Raina, has said on a live stream that the reason Ken moved to be closer to Gypsy was because she was pregnant. Here's the article in question. Thank you to the person who emailed this to me. Published May 2nd. Gypsy Rose Blanchard reveals ex-fiancé Ken Urker moving to Louisiana to be closer after confirming rekindled romance. Now, no talk about pregnancy at this point because she doesn't announce her pregnancy until July. But then later, Gypsy does this timeline and says she conceived a baby on May 4th, yet Ken was already moving. I mean, so fast, right? They're seeing on a live stream together in the beginning of April, and within a couple of weeks, he's moving to Louisiana. Wow, that's fast. That's fast. So thank you for that email. Okay. Another email also I thought warranted some discussion. This is also about the baby, and I think this has some good points, and I'd like to know what you guys think. However, here's why we have to be careful when discussing this scenario that we all seem to know is off. She's talking about people, this whole discussion around the baby. The baby looks smaller, the baby looks bigger, then there's the contingent that say that there's no baby. I'm just saying whatever the different factions in this Gypverse and this Gypsy Rose Blanchard situation talk about. So she goes on to say, she wants, meaning Gypsy, she wants conspiracy theories to outweigh the facts of the case. In fact, she's used to this very theory to make the dissenting content creators sound ridiculous and essentially negate every truth they've exposed. They even say my baby is fake, is the narrative. That's what Gypsy says, right? I've heard average people who don't know anything about the case, except random videos they've seen on social media, exclaim things like, geez, they won't leave that poor girl alone. So I think talking about the baby creates static and drowns out the truth, equating it to internet gossip. If we live in a world where she faked a pregnancy, it will expose itself eventually. I think the facts of the case and the subsequent lies are the most crucial part, and we should just agree to not discuss the baby publicly at all. Some great points. Tell me what you guys think in the comment about this. Is the baby I'm not going to really be discussing the baby anymore unless something major happens. I've kind of done my video on it and I'm kind of done with it. I agree. It's not the most crucial part of the case for me personally. And I'm not talking down to any other content creators who cover it. Everyone is doing whatever they want to do about Gypsy. I'm not judging any of it, but I have to agree with this comment. Tell me what you guys think below. I'm open to whatever you guys think, you know? Okay, great. One more set of comments here. There's a weirdness around everything with Gypsy, someone wrote to me. What stable person chops their hair off to opt for a wig when they've claimed that was part of the abuse that they've suffered, right? She's clearly not mentally stable, and I think everyone around her knows it now. What do you guys think? Now, these are 3 comments on my last video about the timeline, the divorce, yada, yada, yada. First comment. These were the ones that got the most likes. First comment. Gypsy thinks her reputation went down the drain because she got pregnant. Pretty sure it went down the drain when she murdered her mother. She is delusional. In the beginning of the video, my last video, I started out with a clip with Gypsy being very upset, saying that she was thought of, people think of her as a hoe and a sullied woman, like this bad woman, this because she got pregnant. And that's what these comments are talking about. Okay. Next comment. Without Google and Chat GPT, GRB would cease to exist. She lives her life inside her phone. She would have no idea what to do without it. She is a weak, empty vessel. She has no real life. It's like she's a Sims character. And finally, this is the comment that got the most likes. Again, talking about Gypsy lamenting that her reputation was ruined when she got pregnant with Ken after still being married with Ryan and all that fallout. This person writes, the quote, "My reputation has gone down the drain." That's a quote from Gypsy. Then they say, "I might just be an asshole, but I'm pretty sure it began in the drain and never left." Laughing emojis. All right. Thank you so much for these comments. If you guys would like to email me, it's beccascoops@gmail.com. I will be at the end of my videos reading some emails that I think are pertinent and that you guys would like to know about and then comment on. All right, guys. All right, guys, that's going to do it for Becca Scoops for this Sunday. I made a mistake. I will be going live on Tuesday. So make sure your notifications on. We're going to have trivia prizes. It's going to be fun. We'll be discussing things, maybe a few announcements on some of our media campaign. And yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, please consider it if you like this content. And if you'd like to, help me out in a bigger way, consider becoming a member. Definitely not something you have to do. Just subscribing to my channel means a lot to me, means so much to me. Thank you guys. And Becca Scoops. Oh, before I'm out, make sure leave a comment. I'm going to be adding comments in my, videos coming up, probably on the live too, and email me if you've got something else that you want to tell me. All right, that's it. Becca Scoops out. Good night, guys.